Good morning, folks. It is Saturday, August the 2nd. And it is 7:40 a.m. in the morning. Yesterday we done weigh-in, and I see how many of you people enjoyed the weigh-in video. I'm glad that you did. But we gotta talk about not focusing on weigh-in so much during this month. We got to come up with a better way, a solution that is going to be, after I bring it up to you, is going to be a better way than just weigh in alone. The day before I done the weigh-in, I done a video showing you how clothes fit. All of those old clothes in my closet represent inches lost. Finally, I'm able to wear the 38 waist blue jeans, the unforgiving denim now. It doesn't have that little bit of tiny little bit of stretch. Even the denim with a little bit of tiny stretch in it is still not that forgiving, but it will get you. It will make you, stretch a little bit to button those pants. But if you get that true denim, it is unforgiving, just like leather. Unforgiving. And it means more than what the scale is going to take. If you lose inches where you could fit into something like that comfortably and be able to wear it all day long, heck, just even being able to button them at all is an accomplishment in itself. But being able to wear them comfortably is the biggest thing. This is how Gen X used to do it. This is how the boomer generation used to do it. Because back then they didn't make a lot of clothes with stretching unless you were wearing jogging pants all the time. Or some kind of, ballet leotard or some kind of wrestling spandex or something. They didn't make a lot of clothes with that stretch and give in it. It just didn't exist. Most people in the 70s and 80s wore denim. Look at some old movies, you'll see all the actors wearing some kind of blue jeans, and I guarantee you those blue jeans were usually either Wrangler was real popular in the 70s. They were either Wrangler or they were Levi's or they were Lee jeans. And some of the Lee had different fit from the Levi's. The Levi's had, all kind of different numbers, the 501s and all of the, the 252s and all that stuff, that Levi's had. Some were a little tighter than others depending on the number of the Levi's you were buying. And why that was important is because back then you had a lot more analog scales, that had that little number you had to dial straight on to 0. And then you step on it and then you just hope it was right. Because none of those were ever accurate, like I brought up. Back in those times, the only accurate scales that we could get, because digital scales hadn't come along that far yet. They were out there, but they were expensive, and most grandparents and stuff. My grandparents were of the silent generation. One set was silent and one set was greatest. Trust me, they didn't buy expensive digital scales, because in the 80s, if you were buying a digital scale, that was expensive. That was very expensive and hard to find. People would just buy those analog scales and hope and pray to God once you dialed it to 0 that you step in it, and no kids come along and jumped on it. Because if you jumped on it, it was ruined. If you picked it up and dropped it on the floor, it was ruined. That thing's never going to weigh right again. It never did weigh right even to begin with. It just kind of existed as a okay, this could be right tool. But what we gauged everything by was inches lost, and the way we could tell inches were lost was we always had a pair of that very next size. I'm not telling you to go get this. Well, yeah, go get 2 sizes. Go get the size you want to be at if you want to. This is what people used to do back in the day. They go get the size they wanted to be in, and they just kind of have it hanging around forever. But you get that neck size down from where you are right now. Get that next waist size down from where you are now. And I want to put out a challenge to all of you out there. Every one of you. Inches before weigh-in, folks. This is how we got it done back in the day. This is how you can definitely get it done. Inches before weigh-in. If you've been around long enough and you know how we used to do things, then you owe it to not just yourself, but you owe it to the generations behind us watching, in case the digital world ever does fail or goes down or the internet's taken away from them, a way they can gauge and do things without technology. Because what if technology did fail? Just say we're in a apocalyptic scenario like, y'all remember the sequel to Escape from New York, Escape from LA with Kurt Russell, where all technology was like there was some kind of EMP. Yeah, some kind of EMP event happening. Even battery operated stuff quit working. And the world was kind of thrown back into the dark ages. It's a misty, rainy day. It's kind of nice. It hasn't been like this in a while. I'm enjoying this. Very fine mist coming on me right now. But yeah, that EMP took out the entire digital world. Even battery operated stuff didn't work. Nothing worked. So if we were thrown into the dark ages right now, we had to live like we used to. What would you do? Because trucks wouldn't be able to move. You'd have to live off of what your immediate surroundings were. Like, for instance, me, if that was to happen right now, I've got all these peppers and tomatoes, and I got a garden full of stuff out there. I would have to start drying some of those out, and preserving the seeds. I would have to start saving the seeds so I could plant again next year. That's going a little too far. I'm getting way off topic here. My bad. I'm having too much fun with this. All right, yeah, but just say you needed to lose weight, and you were in a post-apocalyptic world where technology has failed, and you needed to lose weight. Scales don't work anymore. They're reliable ones. If you could find some of them analog ones, or some of those doctor scales, the only scales that are going to work is those doctor scales that you can slide and measure like that. Those are the only ones that are going to be left that are still going to work. If you can find them, because even those have got some digital functionality to them now. But those are the only ones going to be accurate. So what you're going to have to do is you would have to have different waist sizes in clothes. And it's hard to use apocalyptic scenarios anymore because everybody's got some kind of crazy, well, it's just a scenario. The point is to get you a size down in pants, stiff pants, that has no give, no stretch, that stretch crap to them. Make the manufacturers do their job and make real pants again. Some pants that have no give to them, that doesn't fit you, are it's just about there, but it's not quite there yet. Those type of pants. I can just about fit them, or I can button them, but they're super tight and I don't feel comfortable wearing them. If you do the low-fat diet for a few weeks, the way I'm doing it, the way others are doing it out there, the way Cole says to do it, then in a few weeks you're going to be able to fit in those pants and you're going to button them. And once you have lost some inches, then get on the scale. Because it's going to mean more. It's going to mean a lot more to you. Now, when I got in those 38 pants, and when I was fitting in that extra large Levi jacket, I knew right away when I got on that scale, no matter what it said, that it was going to be a drop in weight. I knew that there was going to be a drop of weight in that scale. That made me feel better than just jumping on the scale to begin with. I had no idea what it was going to say, to be honest with you. I had no freaking clue what it was going to say. Because the day before weigh-in, if I know I'm a weigh-in, I have to try harder that day. I have to try harder that day. Now, imagine if I would have just not been trying, because I knew I was going to have to weigh in. The votes were coming in for it. I was going to have to try harder that day to bring a legitimate scale weight. But imagine if I hadn't. What if I had 8 before I done the weigh-in? That scale would have been up about 3 or 4 pounds. But you're just going to believe what you see on that. You're just going to believe what you see on that video. If I was to say, well, I ate breakfast this morning, and that made the scale 3 or 4 pounds heavier. Not some of you would believe me. Some of you, have legitimately, know that I'm pretty honest, I think. But what everybody's going to believe out there, and nobody can argue with, is the fact that that next size down is going to be the 36 for me. And very soon I'm going to be doing a video where I go buy me a pair of those pants. Because you can find cheap jeans. I paid $11 for those jeans. I'm going to have to throw out some clothes very soon. That's going to be a video too. I'm fixing to have to bag up a bunch of those oversized Carhartt shirts that you see all the big carnivore people wearing, on their videos too. Because Carhartt actually caters to big guys. They make a really nice, tough, durable shirt that we all wear, and that's why I wear them. That's why you see a bunch of the other big guys out there. When you see that Carhartt shirt, there's a reason, because it covers everybody's entire stomach, where other can't buy clothes. They can't buy clothes out of Walmart. I couldn't buy clothes out of Walmart anymore. Couldn't buy clothes out of Walmart and wear them. And the sizes are tighter, and when you lift your arms up, all you're exposing is your belly or your plumber's crack. And then you got brands out there that cater to that, like Carhartt. Thank God for Carhartt. I'm not putting them out. I plan on buying me some more Carhartt shirts at a lot smaller size, at some point. I like them. They're durable shirts. But t-shirts and stuff, that was all limits for me, unless I bought some kind of super extra oversized t-shirt. I couldn't just walk into a store and buy them. I'm one of those old school people. I like to go out in the world. I don't like to order everything on Amazon. I like to get out in the world as much as I can. Go into these stores, go into these places, live life, socialize outside of social media, Trust me, there's way more people on this channel that know me that know me more so than the people in real life do outside of this channel. When I go out, when I step out into a populated area, nobody knows who Latchkey is. No, I haven't run into anybody yet that knows who I am. I had one guy up at Best Buy last week. We was up there, approached me and he shook my hand. He was looking at me like, I thought, oh my God, this guy knows me from YouTube. Because it happens to people, even with smaller channels. I've seen other people go through that have smaller channels like mine. He approached me. He's like, he's talking to me and stuff, and then he tries to sell me a cell phone service. And see, I'm an old school country hick, and these fast talkers like that, they don't affect me when they approach me. I'm like, let me stop you right there. I live out in the country. The service I'm using is the only one that works. I've had, and this is not a lie, I use one service that works here. All the other services, some of the big names like AT&T and some of those others, they don't work out here. They're in my home. People with those services, they can't use their cell phones because the towers and stuff aren't close enough. It's like a dead zone to those places. So I've had one cell service that works, in my entire house, you know. So once we got on that plan, we've never left it, and I won't never leave it. I ain't got no use for salesmen. Trying to shop and enjoy my day. What cell phone service you using? The one I like? Go on. I'm here to look at technology. I'm here to look at smart TVs. I'm here to look at maybe a possibly new camera upgrade for my YouTube channel. Just leave me alone. Let me live my life. All right, I'm off topic again. It's part of the fun. It's part of the fun. It's how you get to know me. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, there's some people on there. This diet's dangerous. Eating meat and vegetables, people are telling me literally, eating clean, you know, like grilled meat, grilled lean, low fat, protein, and vegetables and fruit is a dangerous diet. Can you believe that? Can you believe this is where we have landed? And then suggested a low carb. Let me tell you about your low carb diet if you're still watching. Here's what I think about your low carb diet. Yeah, you're right. You're right. If I would have went on that low carb, and then there was another one too. It was like, well, you only lost 10 pounds. If you'd have been doing low carb, you'd have lost 30 this month. You're right. I would have. Here's how that would have happened. Here's what that looks like, because there's plenty of channels out there that has already done it. And I could call them all out, and I could prove it. I can prove it. Here's how that looks. All right, I'm on the low carb diet. All of a sudden I'm in a stall. What do? 72-hour fast. Problem fixed. Low carb diet works because the 72-hour fast caused me to lose weight. That was the low carb. Was it really? Or was it the absence of food? Okay, yeah. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. We go on that protocol for a week. And then we stall. What do? Alternate day fasting. Yes, that's the answer. That's the answer. Okay, we do fasting, and that makes low carb work. We got channels out there, you know, who lost the weight first, and then they're still promoting some kind of very long fast, and they've got videos out there on it. So it's easy to prove. It's easy to prove. Hey, look, I'm doing this very specific diet today, and I went through a 62-hour dry fast. I went through a 75-hour water fast. I'm doing intermittent fasting. I'm doing... Well, the intermittent fasting, I do that because back in the day, you know, we ate breakfast, lunch, and supper with no snacking in between, and we had to go to bed without supper if we didn't get enough to eat at supper time. That's how old folks made you grow up. They wanted to hang a name to that intermittent fast. That's not really fasting at all, people. That's just normal lifestyle way of eating, you know. You don't want to go to bed with a bunch of food on your stomach because digestion slows down. Intermittent fasting is a different animal in the fasting game. It's not the same. It's not the same because you can eat 3 meals in a day and still call it intermittent fasting. Has nothing to do with the fasting protocol. But when you're skipping hours, even a 1 meal a day or a 2 meal a day, that's not an unreasonable fasting protocol, no matter what diet you're on. That's not unreasonable. When you're talking about skipping entire days of food, that's what I'm talking about. When you're going 48 hours or more without food, and you're claiming you're on a specific diet, whether it's carnivore, low fat, whatever, it's your fasting losing your weight. Yeah, I said it. And you know it's true. There is nobody that can prove you wrong when you question them like that. When you throw the fasting in there, you have thrown your entire diet talk out the window. Your entire diet talk is out the window. If you eat 3 meals a day and you're doing intermittent fasting, or if you're eating 1 meal or 2 meals a day, that is acceptable when you're doing a protocol. That is acceptable as long as you're eating something daily, like I do. If you're eating something daily and you're dropping weight, And somebody wants to say, oh, you would have lost more if you'd have done the low carb or the carnivore diet. Yeah, you sure would. If you quit eating altogether for 3 or 4 days, yeah, you're going to lose some weight. Imagine that. All right, folks. Inches before weigh-in. We're going to do that 36 waist. We're going to buy that 36 waist, and that's going to be our focus before any kind of scale weight happens again. And then we'll still consider to think about it depending on how fast or how slow that occurs. I'm pretty sure weight, I had to, on this protocol, on this low-fat protocol, I had to, deal with a little bit of standstill and a little bit of upticks, on the scale. That's why the scale is not so important to focus on as the inches, because the other day when I first tried on the 38s, from whatever that scale weight was saying, I was kind of thinking, oh, this ain't gonna work, but it worked. Not only did it work, but it worked way better than I thought it was going to. If you're gonna do low fat, you're gonna have to focus on inches lost first. You're gonna have to focus on inches lost first, because that's gonna matter more. I mean, this is the diet that draws your fat in as you're actually losing weight, and sometimes that don't reflect immediately on that scale. But you're gonna look better, and you're not gonna lose muscle, and you're gonna lose just fat. You're not gonna lose the wrong thing. You're gonna keep the things you need, that your body needs to keep. Okay? Especially if you're throwing protein in there. That's a big thing too. Don't forget, you gotta throw that protein in there, because you can go low fat without that protein. That protein is a big deal. My protein source is poultry. Lean poultry. Alright, folks, that's all I got for this one. Tell me what y'all think down in the comments. That's all I got for this one. So until the next one, you folks have a good one.